A new designer's not going to be comfortable with anything.
Yeah, nothing feels natural to them. Like, I completely agree that understanding the why behind the YPI light and all these things is really important. But, I mean, we are all seasoned enough where we can sense when to talk about those things. So I want to make sure we do think about how do we make it easier for them to understand when to do the YPI.
I think that
light,
is the context. So I think what makes it easier for them to understand when is to know the why behind all of these bits and pieces, to know what it accomplishes, and then to have a cheat sheet that you can kind of lean on where, okay, we did these things. Oh shoot, I haven't talked about what makes FBC different yet. I need to make sure and circle back on that piece. Or
But don't we agree that the why is more important than the when?
yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I thought you were saying
Yeah,
different
absolutely.
than that.
Well,
As long
I
as
guess
you
I
know
just
when
want to
is
keep
it.
in mind that we have the ability to decide when, but I don't know that they can do that yet when they're so new, even when if they understand the why. And that's up for discussion, and you can convince me otherwise. But
in a lot of scenarios, it's really great to be able to go in and have 10 minutes of the endless question warm up. You go to the table, and then there becomes a pause where it just naturally you go into the YPI light.
Yeah, or they start talking about, so what do we need to do today? Or so how long is this conversation? You know, how long do you need? Or whatever. They oftentimes will give you
They set you up
a prompt that shows they need some instruction on what it is that's happening today.
But there's also scenarios where you might get into the YPI light in the first 2 minutes.
Yep.
What would that look like?
If somebody's not giving me anything,
that would typically be like the client that's really insistent on going to the basement first.
Yep.
Yeah, before we go down, this is how this usually works. YPI
Yeah.
light.
Yep.
And then that's probably that analytical person that you're talking about, that they have their agenda, and we're going to abide by their agenda. It's like, ooh, wait a second, this is going to be different than that.
If I'm getting a lot of really short answers, like, oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful neighborhood. What attracted you to this space? Oh, it was close to work.
But I think that is oftentimes because we might be the fourth person that's coming through.
Exactly.
And they're like, I've done this, I want to go down to the basement.
Right.
It's like, well, hang on, and that's why YPI like, well, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
And we're going to do this. Oh, okay, this is a different. I'm not here to sell you something today. We're not,
Well,
I'm not giving you the estimate.
You physically, if you're watching and if that was being filmed, you would see this wall or this layer come down as soon as. So if somebody's been, you're the fifth person who's been in there, and they're like, okay, well, let's get to here, and they're not giving you anything, and you go into YPI light, like, well, here's why I want to sit down and kind of chat, and here's why we're doing this, and blah, 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 and here's kind of what we're about, and I'm your designer, so I really want to get to know you just a little bit before I see the space. Then all of a sudden it's like their face relaxes and everything else, and they're like, oh, okay, can I get you something to drink? Can I, like, all of a sudden it's a different person in front of you a lot of times.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So I think it's the YPI light is important, but whether it's within the first 2 minutes or within the first 20 minutes is you take your cues from who's in front of you.
then I think the tricky part, or the one important part to be mindful of, is that to make sure they go back into those warm-up endless questions and not just go right into programming, because I think that could be natural for them is to just do YPI light and then programming.
Well, I don't think that there's any hard and fast rules though either, because sometimes from YPI light you could get a little bit into programming and then you do it in a soft way where you wind up just having this really great conversation and talking about how they got into their house and their kids and I saw the fishing poles or whatever. Do you fish? Like, you can wind up getting into all of that stuff through
some programming
The crutch of
questions.
programming.
Yeah.
Absolutely, as long as they do that though, because I have
Yeah.
seen several designers, not
Yeah.
several, because we just started this YPLA thing, just like want to just go right into programming and then the basement and like completely skip anything personal because they suddenly have.
But how do you
Like-
get back? Like, you're in that first couple minutes, you kind of feel that wall. You haven't been able to, you know, feel comfortable with them yet. You go to the YPI light. Hey, so let me tell you what we're going to be doing today. So after you go through the YPI light, what's your best, like think about the, you know, you're at selections or you've kind of taken them through that process. How do you circle back? How do you recreate that opening? Like what's a natural way? Like what would be a great question to bring you back into those, you know?
So tell me a little bit more about you guys.
That would be a really hard question for me to answer if somebody asked me about that. It's not like directed enough or like I would be like, I don't know.
I think the construction question is good. Have you done any other construction projects? Is a good leeway question to. Oh, what was that house like? Wait, you lived where? Wait, what? You know, that's a good opener for me to
Or
branch out to other things.
So is this the first time you've ever done a remodeling
Yeah.
project?
Right, yeah. Have you done any other construction projects? And,
you mentioned
know,
that you guys just moved here a year ago. Where from? What brought you here?
But I think that's general enough where you could, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
ask almost everyone that one.
Mhm.
Is this your first project? Because we did our kitchen remodel last year. Oh, cool. How was that experience? Who did you, that, you're building that relationship through that.
And a lot of times they say no. You say, well, is this your first house that you've ever owned? And if it is, oh my God, how exciting. What was that process like? You know, the market is crazy here right now. Did you look a long time? What, you know?
Yeah. I think that's a good one.
And if to them it doesn't feel awkward, that question, because
I think it would be advantageous for us to come up with a few
Sure.
questions that can like
Because
lead you back
different-
into a
Yeah,
more personal
different designers would be
conversation.
more
Yep.
comfortable with other. And I think that's one good one. I relate to that one. There's for sure others.
What did we talk about in Minnesota? What was the loop back?
Segue.
There was how long have you lived in this house, if that question hadn't been asked already, or how did you pick this house? Did it have anything to do with the house or all about the neighborhood?
Right.
The construction one was another one that came up, or like pointing out something in the living room, like this looks I don't know,
Compliment them on
different, or
something.
like yeah.
Can we compliment
I love
them?
the way that you've decorated in here. Like
Did you do it or did you
Yeah.
have it done?
can't remember exactly how that one was worded, but
I go from YPI Light into programming a lot.
yeah.
So when you go into programming, what is your philosophy? Like, tell me what that looks like.
Something along the lines of, tell me a little bit about what you guys are looking to accomplish with this new space.
And what's the level, like what are you trying to get from your programming? How much detail are you getting?
I want to know why they are thinking about doing the project, definitely doing the project, what works for them about their house, what doesn't, what functions they want to have and why. So
Is it because they don't have that function on the main floor, or they want
Right.
to create that again downstairs so that they can have two areas that serve the
right,
same?
or they strictly doing it for resale, or because their neighbor did it, or
If
whatever.
you can't get them to talk in the warm up, this is a really good one to get them to talk to you about. Like,
Mhm.
why am I here? Like, how can I help you? What?
yeah, it's all about the why and how they're going to use the space. Not like not even like, I love barn doors. I want barn doors.
Yeah,
Right? Like
Right.
it's.
More general, big picture.
Like some
I
people
don't get
will
into
start to be like,
specifics.
I want a bedroom and a bar and a TV room, and I'll like slow them down and be like,
That's
wait,
tough.
okay, so the bedroom.
I usually start with why now. Like, okay, you lived in this house a few years. Why didn't you finish? Why didn't you do this when you moved in? What is it about now?
That's a good
That's
point. The
usually
questions are
a
up
very
here.
high level.
Yeah.
They're not how many stools you want at your bar. It's
Mhm.
more,
No.
you know, how are you going to use the space? Why don't you?
Like, oh, I want to have a space my kids can actually use before they're out of high school. Okay, how old are your kids? Like, what do they like to do? Like, that opens, that can kind of bring back in some more connecting questions. And then I want to understand if they want to stay in that house for a while, and what it looks like 5-10 years down the road for them.
Yeah, if it's an interim house.
And what other projects they have going on in their home, because that sometimes gets, not in the way, but can, something you need to consider when they're making their decision on their basement. Oh, but we are going to redo the kitchen, and that may be priority.
And then once you get the higher level questions, how deep do you go into programming? Are you asking them how many people they want to be able to seat at their bar, or is that coming later?
That comes later for me. I
Yeah,
don't get into all that stuff.
After the basement.
After the basement, after,
Because they could have 600 square feet or 2,600.
yeah.
Depending, I've been downstairs and half it's crawl space. You're like, whoa.
I would say mine's a little bit of both. Sometimes I get into like the detail of like how big of a bar do you want it to sit down? Do you want stools? How many stools? How many people do you usually entertain? Oh, what types of parties?
In the first half hour you're doing that?
After I've done like YPI Light and after I've bonded and we're like programming, I get into that because then that helps me tell like how they're going to use the space. Then they can tell me about the types of parties, and it's usually family or it's always friends or they want to host Christmas.
I just do it after I've been in the basement.
I do it after too.
Yeah, it could be
In the basement
either way
sometimes.
for me.
Obviously it's more often than not it's after the basement, but obviously there's
Exceptions.
correct always.
Great.